Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. I want you to give me a fresh beer.
You serious?
Now! Now! Holy son, you son of a bitch!
Welcome in. It is the Beer 30 Dynasty Football Podcast. After taking a nice little hiatus for a couple weeks, we are back, baby.
We're back! Classic! We are back! We are back!
I'm your host, Colton. This is Brandon Wade and Grant Larson here with me again today.
What's going on, everybody?
What's up, everybody? We finally made it through the slog of training camp and preseason, and we are here.
Man, it just felt so good. I don't know how excited you guys were for just like Thursday. Then Friday, we got another little taste. And today, me and Grant got to watch Red Zone together, and it felt so good just to be back into it, man. I missed it. I needed it. I wanted it. And it was there for me to have.
And the quality of football overall may not have been good, but we will still take it nevertheless.
I mean, it's week one. The offenses, we got to remember this, and we'll get into it a little bit more, but it's brutal these first few weeks, and everyone comes in here. Everyone's coming in expecting everyone to be firing on all cylinders. They're people too. They've been off season, so they're getting back into it, but we're going to go ahead and get into a couple things. We do have some news bits, and I think a couple things that just need to be touched on here, so a couple things.
Look, I report the news. That's what I do.
First and foremost, the Cowboys finally did it. They finally paid Dak Prescott. They gave him a $240 million 4-year extension, making him the highest paid player. They could have done it a long time ago and probably not made him the highest paid player, but the Cowboys going to do what the Cowboys going to does. They did it with CD. They did it with Dak. They're going to do it with Micah Parsons now. So that's just what we should expect from the Cowboys, who I dislike ownership of.
Jerry Jones just going to do Jerry Jones things. Better late than never, I guess.
I mean, honestly, that kind of did him a solid because if he really wanted to carry it out until open free agency, he probably could have got more with other teams. I mean, he potentially would have been one of the most valuable quarterbacks to ever hit free agency in terms of age and ability. But, yeah, he's locked up, and, him plus CD, we got that combo tied down for years to come now.
I mean, the fact that Dak was even willing just to play without the contract just shows what he wants to do for the organization. After he's like, no, I'll play for you without a contract, they should have been like, here's your contract, man. We do love you. You love us. But no, the Cowboys going to do the Cowboys.
Yep.
Next little portion makes me sad, and it's a thing that I can actually, it's like my expertise. Ricky Pearsall shot through the chest. So that's just wild, man. I mean, is this back-to-back years? Was it last year Brian Robinson got shot?
I believe that was 2
years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
But good news, Ricky Pearsall, he's got that dog in him. He tipped a gun and shot him back. I mean, so good for him. Miss all vital organs, so everything's good. It's going to be a long road to recovery because
he's already been practicing some though.
Has he already?
Even less than maybe thought. Yeah. I mean, that's just got to be the most impressive shot. That if it didn't in the chest, there's a lot of ribs in there and muscles and your lungs and heart.
Anything and everything.
I mean, just an impressive shot for it not to hit absolutely everything. I mean, you'd be surprised how many gunshots are actually really not that serious. But I mean, a shot to the chest is typically pretty serious. But good for him for getting out there, and man, that's impressive. But expect him to be out probably 4 to 5 weeks for that one. Actually, the one part we haven't even gotten to talk about is our struggle all offseason is finally over with. Ayuk gets signed. I mean, we haven't had a show since that happened, and oh my God, I have never felt such a relief when I finally saw it. I think I actually threw my phone. I was so excited. I just chucked it into the air like it was graduation day.
Took them long enough,
We spent all offseason, talking about what if he went to another team, and at the end of the day, it just is going to slot right back in where he was last year. I mean, same situation, same everything. Now he's just got the long-term security. Maybe we're never going to get the big volume that we hoped for from him, as long as he's stuck there in San Fran, but the other option was to be on the Steelers. So did we really want that? No. And it turns out he didn't want that because it sounds like the day he signed his extension, they pretty much told him, sign this or you will be a Steeler, and kind of called his bluff. And he did not want to catch passes from Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. So
shocking there.
I'm surprised, man. All right. Well, boys, let's go ahead and get into our Thursday/Friday night breakdown here. The first little bit I've got on our show doc is, and I know everyone's going to be shocked by this one, but Saquon is still good. That man had the absolute dog in him on Friday night. And the thing with Saquon is everyone came in, they're like, he's old. Running backs going to a different team this late. A lot of people had questions about him. I don't think we were ever really like down on him. I don't think we were as high as what he did, but I mean, finishing the game, 24 attempts, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. Sure, he wasn't that involved in the receiving game. He had 2 targets, but caught both of them and a touchdown through the air. He's going to be a huge part of this offense, and everyone that was worried about him getting sniped from the tush push should put that to rest because Saquon's here to play, and he's going to get those tutties.
Yeah, I mean, and bring up the tush push. I think there was twice they got stopped trying to run that in that game. So maybe the old secret ingredient, Kelsey not being there, makes that not as guaranteed there. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's totally dead. I mean, they ran it twice in a row early on to convert a 4th down. But yeah, I mean, I think it turns out the lack of Miles Sanders and DeAndre Swift goal line usage is just because those guys weren't good enough. I mean, Saquon's pushing 230 with his ability. Yeah, it turns out they're much more comfortable using him down in that area. I was almost surprised they didn't go for it for a 4th touchdown there towards the end. But yeah, I mean, just as the resident running back nitpicker, yeah, I mean, I will just say that if he's not going to get 3 touchdowns every week, so I would like to see the better receiving usage. And the concern was that with Jalen Hurts, you're not going to get those dump offs because he's not looking for those. He's not going to get a schemed up wheel route touchdown every week. So, and for whatever reason, he on their big 2-minute drill before half, he wasn't in there. There was talk that he was banged up, but then he was back in fine in the second half. But that's really going to be the other main concern is just, can he stay healthy, especially with a 25 touch per game workload?
Yes, I think he might have tweaked his ankle or something like that on a tackle before that drive. But obviously it was fine. Like you said, he came back after halftime and continued.
Yeah, another little bit from Friday night, and it's someone that I've just kind of been about, and I did talk about this offense, the Green Bay offense, of how there's a lot of mouths to feed, a lot of people go to throw the ball to, but I don't know where you guys are at, but is Jaden Reed that guy?
He's the guy that's going to get the manufactured touches. So if all things are equal, that probably does put him ahead of the others. And he is, I would say, the most explosive. So, yeah, I mean, if there's a guy to own, I mean, it's him. Obviously, the biggest news from that game may impact him going forward, which is Jordan Love's health. So you might just see a lot of non-usefulness from those pass catchers for the next 3 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, I'm thinking in that offense, that, like you just said, next 3 to 6 weeks, the only person you might want to own is Josh Jacobs for the moment. But
maybe that opens a buy window for whichever pass catcher of your choice. As I was talking with, I believe, Wade, after my Green Bay wide receiver usage research this offseason, I will still note that Romeo Doubs had the most targets. He's just not talented enough to actually make the most of them, but I think it's still interesting that that's the guy that Love does look for. The other big note is this is something all off season I was skeptical of. The fantasy industrial complex absolutely gaslit the hell out of everyone when it came to Dontavian Wicks. That he was just this secret Devontae Adams in waiting, and it was only a matter of, and they're all backpedaling now. Like, well, we always said it was only about injury, and now they said that he was going to take over this wide receiver room, and and they're already saying, well, he was open when he was out there, and he does get open, and if there's an injury, yes, maybe he would have value, but he's not this guy that you had to run out and acquire because he was about to just blow up.
46% snap percentage, 3 targets, no receptions for Dontavian Wicks. You're right. Dobbs had 7 targets, 4 receptions. Reed had 6 targets, 4 receptions. Reed makes the most out of his receptions is kind of what he does. He gets the ball and he makes moves. He's a yard after catch guy. So, I mean, he's just making those moves, and they are getting him manufactured touches. So, as of right now, Reed is that guy. Christian Watson did catch a touchdown, so kind of gave him a little bit of fantasy relevance in there. But let's talk about wait, you got one last?
I was just saying, it seems to me like Watson's being relegated to maybe just using his size, being that red zone guy, or just the deep shot. And that's about it, which, I mean, I think we've all been kind of on the same page with his value decreasing over the years.
Because Watson used to be the guy to get those manufactured touches. I mean, the year that he had 8 or 9 touchdowns, he was getting the end arounds and stuff. But, yeah, that's definitely Reed's lane going forward.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Thursday night here. And let's talk about the biggest elephant in the room on this one, and that's the Isaiah Likely versus Mark Andrews. People are going nuts. I wanted to put this in our don't freak out section of the overreaction section, but we just had to talk about it with the whole Thursday, Friday night thing. But where are you guys at with the two, and where are you kind of with it going forward here?
I think Grant and I are both on the same page when we had talked off pod here, but you can't be expecting Likely to do this every week, obviously. But I do think that he's going to be involved in the offense more than people maybe thought. They might have both of them in there, but also the Mark Andrews just being like toast thing is maybe a little overdone here.
Yeah, I mean, they were out there the same amount. I mean, the good thing is they're running a lot of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends. So then going forward, it does give both of them a path to relevance. But yeah, I mean, Andrews was out there. He was running routes. He was open. Sometimes he was open, or the Chiefs were just bracketing the shit out of him, and he was, just completely covered. So Likely was getting a lot of the short area targets with his great athleticism. He was then making that into a lot more. So I think it's possible Likely is kind of the wide receiver 3 on this team, with then Flowers and Andrews as the top targets. And the biggest note, which I feel like went underreported, is, Andrews was in a car crash 3 weeks ago. I mean, it was kind of downplayed on the severity but he missed practice time with an undisclosed injury, and still kind of seems to me he's kind of in like a ramp-up period. I think if it was talked about all week before that he was injured and then he went out and did this, then we'd all be like, okay, this is why. But because that wasn't really a thing, then everybody's like, oh, Likely took his job. But yeah, I think this is why you draft and acquire and hold Likely for these situations. But I wouldn't be considering him the tight end 1 right now.
Definitely not the tight end 1. Mark Andrews outsnapped him, had more targets. It just fell in Likely's favor there. And the fact that, I mean, this Chiefs defense is tough. They looked so well put together. I would say they were the best put together team over week 1 so far. We'll see we're just recording this on Sunday afternoon. So we still have the Sunday night, Monday night games. So we still have those to come through. But the Chiefs just look so well put together. Their defense was just absolutely dominating the Baltimore's line. So Mark Andrews can both block and catch. Isaiah Likely is just a catcher. He's not the best blocker. So the fact that to give Lamar Jackson any amount of time to throw the ball, Mark Andrews was on that line just blocking for him. Likely was given the old bump and runs. So it's just something to take note of. It's something to keep an eye on. But I'm with you on this one, guys. Likely's not going to do that every week. He will be involved in this offense. Don't be selling the world to get him. I mean, if you can acquire him and someone's still like, "Ooh, I want to get him off my team because he's never going to do this again," tossing a second for him, absolutely, no big deal. But don't be going and selling Mark Andrews just because Isaiah Likely did this. One last note I just wanted to talk about on Thursday night, and this should also be in your don't overreact segment, but Xavier Worthy comes out with his big rookie debut, getting the 2 touchdowns. He touched the ball 4 times, 2 touchdowns. Do not overreact to this. It's awesome to see the rookie getting the work, come out and have a debut like that. He looked good. He looked fast. We knew he was fast. And we knew that the Chiefs were going to be able to design something for him. They've had a speedster on their team before called Tyreek Hill. I mean, they've gone through all these other speedsters that just weren't good, but Worthy we knew was a little bit more than a speedster coming into this. So not surprising to see him kind of get off to a hot start, but we're not going to see 2 touchdowns from him every week. So just stay tempered on him. But I did like at least coming out and seeing him have a nice debut.
Yeah, you want to see those manufactured touches they had for him, the end around for a touchdown and everything else, just seeing that speed on display. But, yeah, no, I agree with you 100%.
And, yeah, I mean, the touchdown catch was absolutely busted coverage. The corner passed him on to absolutely nobody, which led to an easy touchdown.
He passed him on to Eddie Jackson, who just stared at him and watched him walk into the end zone.
But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is that he's out there and he's involved, and that's especially as long as Hollywood Brown is out, that's going to give him plenty of opportunities to do something exactly like that.
All right, guys. Anything else from Thursday and Friday?
My other biggest thing was just despite some early panic, I think still be confident in Josh Jacobs going forward. He's going to get all the touches, all the opportunities. Biggest hindrance is just love missing time, but that might give him even more opportunities. So, yeah, I mean, I think, stick where you are with him. Derrick Henry, I'm a little worried about. There's thoughts about that on our Twitter account, but yeah, no, I think those are the biggest ones we got covered.
Awesome. Let's go into our week 1 overreactions.
I do have, as we're watching these games, your boy Lad McConkey just cut a touchdown.
Just got a tutty. I saw it came across my phone.
Yeah.
I was so pumped to see. I was actually going to say something about it. All right, boys. Week 1 overreactions. Let's get into it. I'm going to go ahead and start this one off. And this is because I've gotten actually multiple texts from people now, and that is the old freak out about my boy and someone I've planted the flag on, Dalton Kincaid. So it didn't look great. He was 1 for 2, 11 yards, and that's all he did. The Bills just starting out this game, we actually thought they were cooked. I mean, Grant and I were sitting there talking like, these guys look bad. They didn't look well put together. Josh Allen was just getting hit left and right. He was unable to get out of the backfield and do what Josh Allen does. And then once it took over, they just found that they found their mesh and they just kept running with it. Dalton Kincaid was not a big part of it today, which is very unfortunate. But it's week 1. These teams are still trying to figure it out. Do not go panicking about Dalton Kincaid because he only got the 1 reception. They're still trying to figure out how this offense is going to work and run with all these new loss of weapons, really. I mean, they got Keon Coleman now. They lost – we've talked about it all offseason. They lost Diggs. They lost Gabe Davis. I mean, is this offense supposed to be what we thought funneled through Kincaid because he is the veteran? Yeah, it's still his second year, though, as a tight end. So it's just something that I'm not super concerned about yet. Is it something to keep an eye on? Absolutely. But freaking out and just saying Dalton Kincaid is cooked, do not do that. I saw people sending out tweets as well. Just stop. Dalton Kincaid will be A-okay.
Well, I think here's the biggest indicator that probably will be fine. So him versus Dalton Knox out there. Kincaid was out there for 88% of the snaps. Dawson Knox only 55%. Kincaid ran 83% of the routes, Knox only 43%, but then they both had the same 9% target share. So a little bit of bad luck. But last year there was a big split in actual playing time with him and Knox. Like those percentage numbers were way down for Kincaid. So the fact that he's well out snapping him and out route running him, I think is a good sign going forward. This was just not a good week for tight ends at all, honestly. Pretty much every one of the elite tight ends kind of face planted. Trey McBride kind of got there just on some volume alone, but for the most part, and Kyle Pitts with a wide open touchdown. But yeah, otherwise, it just across the board, it has not been great, barring what we see from Sam Laporta tonight. Actually, I will say, though, Raiders leading target getter from today, Brock Bowers, in his first NFL game.
There you go.
Yeah. Another freak out that people are having and absolutely losing their mind over is the first wide receiver drafted in this draft class, and that's Marvin Harrison Jr. He had one reception, and I think it was for like 4 yards. So, I mean, where are you guys at on freaking out on MHJ? Is he cooked already?
I mean, we've all seen it. Like, rookie receivers, you either come in and you're really good, but a lot of times they take time to develop. That's just kind of how it is. The same with tight ends. They're kind of slow getting in. But I don't think there's any reason to hit the panic meter there yet. It's going to take time for him to get on the same page with Kyler Murray, and it'll get worked out.
I mean, he was one of the most egregious things I've seen of like drafting somebody at their absolute ceiling and just immediately expecting that. And yeah, I mean, if once again, like some participation numbers, I mean, he was out there for the most snaps, 95%. He's still target share wise did more than say Michael Wilson. It's Greg Dortch that had the majority of the stuff, but they attempted 31 passes and only threw for, like 150 some yards. Like their just ADOT was not high, which benefited Greg Dortch, Trey McBride, and James Conner, but there was just nothing down the field. And I don't think we'll see that the entire year this year. So yeah, I think there's no for quite some time there.
I just love it when people come out and they're just like, this rookie sucks. And it's like his very first NFL game ever. I mean, not everyone can be Ladd McConkey. That's all I'm saying.
That's all I got.
I'm so glad he caught a touchdown just so I could just talk about him and how good he is today. It's great. All right, on to our next one. Don't freak out. Don't overreact. And that is Michael Pittman. I think we knew. I think we saw this coming. At least I did. I don't know where you guys were at, but Anthony Richardson in the preseason game, that the very last one, he had a drive that was absolutely beautiful. He was getting the ball out of his hands quickly. They were making good, short, quick passes. And then they went on to a more traditional, like, let's get intermediate, let's do the longer. And he struggled. It all fell apart. After seeing that, I was thinking this is a possibility that it might take him a few games. I mean, the man's only started now today, after today, 18 games since high school. 18 games. Like, he's still trying to figure it out. He's still trying to figure out how the NFL works. He didn't play last year. He played, 3.5 games, essentially, 2.5. So he's still working on it. I think we're going to see the relationship that's built between him and Michael Pittman as this season goes on. Michael Pittman is still a very good wide receiver. He's going to get open. He's going to make the catches. Just today, Alec Pierce had his one game of the year that, he got some big, long bombs. And they were great catches, and it was awesome to see as a Colts fan. But as a Michael Pittman owner in a couple of leagues, it hurt. But I'm still not concerned about it. Don't overreact.
I mean, Pittman still had 8 targets on the day. I mean, he was by far the most targeted guy.
I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here just because we're being a little too, I mean, you can't not panic about everything, but, they only I don't know what they ended up with, but One of the last I had saw, they had only attempted like 19 passes.
That was the
day.
final for Richardson. 9 of 19, 212, and 2 tutties.
So with that, and in a game that was very back and forth, so with that amount of volume, somebody's not going to get there. And whether that's Michael Pittman, whether that's Josh Downs, Adonai Mitchell, yeah, obviously Alec Pierce is still definitely going to be involved. So that's there's not a lot of wiggle room there.
He attempted 19 and only completed 9 of those.
Yeah, that's it. And obviously that was for 200 some yards. So that yards per attempt is quite good. But I think it ended up being close to 11. But
yeah, and 125 of those 212 went to Alec Pierce.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, I think this is the concern we had all off season is just volume wise, because Minshew last year was just able to pepper those guys and get them, this Pittman especially, and get him there PPR wise. So the concern level is there a little bit, but we'll see how this offense kind of grows as things go on.
I'm not saying I'm not concerned. I'm saying I'm not overreacting.
We're not slapping the panic button, the fire the rockets.
Well, there's got to be some levels to, I mean, yeah, just because it's not the sky is falling.
I'd put him at like a nice yellow light,
I mean, I think
kind of in between.
Technically, a good dynasty player shouldn't overreact about anything, but I feel like we almost need to have some kind of sky is falling overreaction in here about, we're telling everybody
we will
everything's all good, but
it's too early. It's week 1. You can't freak out at week 1. That's how you start selling your team, and some guys end up being okay and you're like, well, crap.
Bryce Young, question mark?
Yeah, not good. That's
if there's anyone you can say that for, I say that it might be the one this week.
I knew they were going to be bad, but I did not expect it to be that bad. I mean, yeah, when I'm getting notifications that I didn't get to watch a lot of the game, but when I'm getting notifications, Derek Carr's already got 3 touchdowns and it's 30-10, and it's not looking good.
Talking about the Saints being the worst team in the league all year, and they just absolutely boat raced them. So
it's not helping my "Let's get Dennis Allen fired" petition.
I mean, next week, don't worry.
Bryce Young was 13 for 30. Still completed more than Anthony Richardson.
That's nice.
It hurts. All right, let's continue on our Don't Freak Out. And the next thing I have on our list is the Falcons' offense, just in general. Are you guys freaking out about it?
I think there was a pretty good chance. I always thought there was a pretty good chance that just with a new quarterback and everything, they weren't going to look great against a good defense in the Steelers week 1. But it is, considering, the decision they made with Michael Penix, it is a little interesting. Is there something somebody knows about Kirk Cousins that led them to make that decision? I think we'll see as time goes on, but he got sacked a lot, and I don't know if TJ Watt just lived in their backfield, and their offensive line was considered to be pretty decent. So it's like, has Kirk lost a little? I mean, people, when they think about leg injuries for pocket passers, are like, oh, that guy wasn't a runner anyway, so it doesn't matter. But in terms of pocket movement, it absolutely matters, because Kirk was a magician at that. But we saw last year him just making some insane plays, navigating pressure in the pocket. So that is something to watch for sure.
You got to be able to come out of your drop back and and step up into the pocket and get that explosiveness out of there. Even though he's not an explosive guy, but you got to be able to move to step up, and that was one of the things he's so great at, is just navigating the pocket so well and getting those balls out.
Drawing the Steelers card week 1, new quarterback, new head coach, new offensive coordinator. It's tough. We all knew the Steelers defense was going to be tough. We knew their offense was going to suck. Not a single touchdown scored. But yeah, it's a tough offense or defense to draw on week 1 with all this newness. And Kirk Cousins also is still, he tore his Achilles last year. I'm not hitting the panic alarm yet. Drake London caught 2 for 15 with 3 targets. Kyle Pitts did have a touchdown. I'm not quite sure what Bijan did, honestly. Did anyone got those numbers for me?
He had 18 carries, 68 yards, 5 for 5 on receptions for 43.
Thanks, Wade.
Yep.
I'm not panicking quite yet.
Oh, yeah. The volume definitely there.
Yeah, the only thing I will say there is their schedule the next 3 weeks is not kind. Got Philly coming in, Kansas City, and I don't know about the Saints defense. I mean, obviously Carolina might just be that bad, but Saints always had at least a solid defense.
I think if we thought anything would be okay for the Saints, it would be the defense. So that's
your next 3 games, and then following that you got Tampa Bay, and then you got Carolina again, or not again, but then you got Carolina. So maybe week 6 is what you want to look for there.
Yeah, I think they slowly figure it out. I mean, it's a whole lot of new on a tough defense.
It's never easy just plugging a new quarterback in. I don't care who you are into a new system, or even if it's the same system. You got a new quarterback coming out, even if it's something they've already learned. You got to get with all the players. You got to, the line's got to get used to the cadence, all this stuff. And the way preseason is anymore, I don't know how many snaps that their starting offense played, but I'm guessing it wasn't
not a lot because remember they played Penix for like half a game, and they're like, "Nah, we've seen enough," and they didn't even play him the third game, so it was just like, we're good."
No sense whatsoever. But
yeah, it's crazy. I'm not hitting the panic alarm. I hit the panic alarm on London last year essentially, and sold him in pretty much any league I had him in for whatever I could get. Not expecting for Kirk Cousins to go there. I think Kirk Cousins figures it out eventually. Maybe it's closer, like you said, week 6 towards the mid after they get through a couple rough patches. But I'm not completely worrying quite yet. All right, we got to talk about it, guys. It's coming, and it is the Chicago Bears offense, not the defense. Defense cooked.
That is the offense. What do you mean?
But we've got to talk about this offense. I'll let you guys start since you guys are both Bears fans. Maybe it's better for Grant to start.
I mean, I pretty much saw the red zone-ized part of the game, so I missed probably a lot of the context there. I mean, from what I've seen going around, the offensive line just got absolutely manhandled.
As someone who watched every second of the game, if you have DeAndre Swift, you might be wanting to get him out of there. He is getting hit every single rush in the backfield. I mean, he probably had 4 or 5 carries that were tackles for loss, 3 or 4 yards. They could not run the ball to save their lives. It was awful. And for everybody who talked about last year that, they had a top 5 run game. Well, a lot of that was because Fields was running for his life, and that pumped up those yards. And for better or worse, that kind of maybe, inflated that a little bit. Now, obviously, as a Bears fan, I'm going to be optimistic and hope we can get it figured out, but it did not look good. Just out of sync all over the place. O-line, the interior of the O-line's got to get figured out. And they had the right guard. They had him getting Davis getting rotated in and out for whatever reason, doing a 50-50 split. I don't know why. Eberflus does weird stuff like that. Coleman Shelton, this new starting center, just got absolutely bulldozed in the red zone.
I've never seen a lineman, just get absolutely exploded like that. That's
as much as you love to hate on the fat guys up front. That man deserved to just be sitting on the bench the rest of the game because there was a touchdown throw there on that play, and he just got absolutely annihilated, and the ball just got smacked into the ground.
Swift, 10 carries. 30 yards.
And when he had a hole, he looked good. It was not. He looked explosive. I mean, he hurdled a dude, which I would say it's just a flash play. It looks cool, but I mean, it just did not look great. And Travis Homer was in there a lot on passing downs and third down things, which I did not expect.
It seems like Herbert's usage was kind of minimal for the most part.
Yeah, when I saw Roshan Johnson was inactive this week, which also just turned him to dust. I was like, okay, Herbert's, going to be, that swap in guy. And then Homer was in there a lot, and then they made Herbert the short yardage guy, which, I guess, he's good. But, if you really want somebody who's just going to pound it in between the tackles, I would think Roshan would be your guy there. But obviously they're not loving what he's showing them.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of, at least the majority of us were kind of fading Swift at his value all off season long. I mean, on 29 attempts today, if he's only getting like one target, then I mean that's what you're really hoping is going to get him there. So if he's not getting that, and then the run game isn't good or efficient, then what are we really doing here? That's why I kind of didn't even want to deal with this backfield.
And not to take anything away from the Titans, I think they do have a really good D line.
I mean, Jeffrey Simmons is that guy,
But when it's not just him blowing up the line, and I mean, it could be a long season for that there. I hope not, and we'll see. But you ain't got it any better. I mean, you got Houston coming to town next week. Now it might get better on the interior, but their edge rushers are going to be pretty darn good. So we'll get the tackles tested for sure.
They, outside of some, kind of 5-yard touchdowns, they kind of stymied Jonathan Taylor for the most part today. So and
we don't have Quentin Nelson at guard. So
the real question is Caleb Williams, 14 for 29, 93 yards. That's a rough. I mean, especially for like what everyone was expecting. I'm like I said, don't overreact. It is literally his first game starting.
Correct.
And it's you want to see better numbers than that week one for someone that was like, as high, like everyone's saying he's generational. It's one of the best quarterback prospects we've ever seen. You want to see better numbers than that. But I mean, we saw it with Justin Fields, him running for his life all the time. And are we going to just see it again? Caleb Williams running for his life?
I don't think it'll be as bad just because I think he's just a better pocket passer. But
I think Fields got himself into at least half of those situations. But I mean, it's concerning for sure. But
I think, a lot of people are going to draw to the hard knocks, him saying he doesn't get nervous. He had the yips today. You could tell. He was on time with his throws, but they just weren't accurate. And, that's the thing he's known for. He's going to hit you where it needs to be. And then you had untimely drops. I mean, he should have had a touchdown to Keenan Allen. Probably could have had two if, like we just said, Coleman Shelton didn't get bulldozed. But, I mean, like I said, it's week one. It's a rookie quarterback coming in. We'll see. I mean, maybe you get somebody who's just absolutely panic moding and not knowing a ton. You can get a buy-in on him. But, I don't think it's that point yet. I mean, that'd be absolutely insane.
If you're freaking out that much, you should not be playing dynasty football.
Hey, but, people are just like, hey, Bears, we've never had a quarterback, so they're just going to pile onto that. I don't know, the old uneducated.
Let's go ahead and talk about the other side of the ball before we have to turn this into the Bears Dynasty Football podcast. Will Levis, and he came out in the first, I'd say, quarter and a half, looking good. I mean, I even texted Wade and said, how you feeling, buddy? They were up 17-0. Will Levis looked all right. Finishes the day 19 for 32, 127 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. What was impressive was, honestly, his run game. Had 4 carries for 36 yards. But we expected him to come in. They gave him Calvin Ridley. They have, they got Tyler Boyd down there. You can still say the shell of Treylon Burks is there if you really want to. But he got a couple of pass-catching running backs, and so they were expecting some big things out of him. Like I said, once again, it's still week one. They're still trying to figure out and get back up to the pace of play. But, Will Levis is kind of exactly what he was last year. He made some big plays that looked awesome, and then he'd crumble. But then he'd make another awesome play, and then he'd crumble. So, I mean, I don't know where you guys are at with Will Levis, but
I might just be a guy at this point who's a starter in the league. But I mean, he showed, like you just said, he showed flashes. I mean, there was late in the game, he got absolutely pummeled as he was letting go of this ball, and he just threw a 30-yard frozen rope to Ridley on the sideline. So, I mean, you see it. It's just then he makes the underhanded kind of flip to the sideline that gets pick 6 to essentially lose the game. So it's just probably not going to last that long. But I
don't know if
like I said, it's week one.
I don't know if I've ever heard the expression "frozen rope." Is that just like a
you don't know ball, sir?
It's just a frozen rope.
Absolutely,
got like Sub-Zero out here.
I will say, not on the Levis thing, but if you had Tony Pollard, I mean, he looked pretty damn good that game, and I don't remember now. I don't know what Spears' final stat line was, so I might have to give that to me.
I'll
but
get
I
it.
don't remember him doing anything that wowed me down there. It was all Pollard from when I remember.
Spears was 4 for 21, and then receiving game 4 receptions for 11 yards, 4 targets. So.
Yeah. You might be getting a lot of dump-offs down there, I'll say that, because Pollard had, 3 or 4 himself? I don't think they went anywhere, but yeah.
So, and they were same amount of targets, but Spears definitely had the clear passing game usage, but Pollard looks good. He got the majority of the carries, and they definitely want to run the ball, it appears. So, and they're going to need to, I think. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, they even came out and said this backfield is 50-50, and I think I've been saying it all off season. They like Tajay Spears, and they're going to use him, but they wanted someone, because Spears is missing an ACL, they wanted someone that could come in and play a similar style to Spears. So and Tony Pollard is you can almost copy-paste those two play styles. They're both pass, shifty guys that can do the pass catching. So, today it was Tony Pollard. I have a feeling next week we might be saying, hey, Tajay Spears got the better of the two. So I think this backfield is going to be kind of hard to tell week in and week out who's going to be that one that blows up.
Yeah, if I'm a contender, I probably want Pollard for not just because he's a trusted vet, but I still, Spears I think is a good dice roll just because he becomes the absolute guy if Pollard goes down and vice versa for Pollard. So, I just think it depends on where your team is at in its contention window.
Either one of those could be a really good handcuff for one another and just absolutely go to the moon if one of them goes down.
All right. You guys got any more?
In terms of overreaction type things, well, I'm sure one of the biggest ones we're going to hear about this week, and honestly, with us recording this, I'm not going to have seen enough to really say, but, J.K. Dobbins put up a big number for the Chargers today. It looks like it was largely off of 1 or 2 large carries. We did know he was the most explosive guy out of who they have. It's just the question of the health. It looks like him and Edwards pretty much split carries evenly, but Dobbins being the more explosive.
Dobbins has got 2 legs again, baby.
For now.
JK 2 legs.
Yeah, he did. But like we said, I think there's some concern, and I've had this concern, but for Justin Herbert, just because today was how Harbaugh wanted to play. They ran it 27 times for 176 yards. He still got 26 attempts, but this is – I had talked about this before, the crazy amount of attempts Herbert's had. I didn't realize, for his career, he has the NFL record for average number of attempts, per game. So, and that's about to nosedive. If Harbaugh has his way, they will be last in passing attempts and first in rushing attempts. Now we'll see if they're able to, if they have to stay in games, what the case is there. But I think Herbert, at least for this year, has probably been downgraded rightly. And passing game wise, it's Lad McConkey is the only guy I care to have. I don't care about the little Josh Palmer hype that came in.
I just love to hear it. I'm so happy you said it.
He's clearly the most talented. Yeah, if he didn't get a touchdown today, it wouldn't have really been anything. But the volume's just not going to be great.
The other thing I have to say about Justin Herbert, and it's just the fact that Justin Herbert is an athletic person. It's just he has a plantar fasciitis or tear even is what I heard last. So the rushing is not going to be even there for him this year. So, I saw him make a couple runs, and it just looked painful to him to even try to run and scramble around. So the fact that he doesn't even have that potential to do for, and those stick around. So the fact that that's there and sticking around, the rushing floor for even a little bit to boost him is not there. So I think the off-season correction on where Justin Herbert was going, unfortunately, just might be correct.
Yeah, I mean, it potentially makes a buy opportunity, but that's not necessarily a given. Harbaugh's going to be there next year, and I'm sure they'll end up with better passing game weapons. But yeah, I mean, there's a certain way he wants to play, and today is definitely it.
The thing is, they won today, so Harbaugh's going to be around if they keep winning. So and they've got a tough defense, and so there's a possibility that this is just unfortunately what Justin Herbert's future is.
Unfortunately, yeah. I got one Herbert related, but JSN today, everybody thought Lockett was going to play, and he ended up playing. Only went 2 for 2 for 19 yards, so might be in for overreaction, or he might be in for another season of just him.
I mean, did anybody really get their passing game wise on that offense today, though?
No, not really.
Honestly, it was Lockett, though. It looks like.
Correct. 6 for 7 for 77 yards.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely ran the ball a lot. I mean,
Kenneth
Walker might exceed expectations.
20 carries, 103 yards, a touchdown, 2 receptions for 6 yards, 3 targets. I mean, Kenneth Walker, they wanted to run that ball through Kenneth Walker. They just kept feeding him. I mean, is that a thing that we should talk about? Is it time to freak out about Zach Charbonnet? I mean, that's a thing to bring up. He had 8 carries for 12 yards.
I do think that people maybe thought there'd be – I guess it's almost 50-50, or not almost 50-50, but people, I think, were expecting more of a split than maybe what they got going in. I guess I was always more just in the Walker just seems better camp, but
I've pretty much always viewed him as the highest end handcuff, so there's no real freaking out to be had because the value is when if Walker goes down. So
yep.
Yeah, I mean, then the volume is there for him, and even if he's not efficient, he still gets there on that. But yeah, I think his value was maybe always a little too high because people did expect this kind of split. And yeah, I mean, I think you're just seeing him as a pure handcuff right now.
Agreed.
All right. Any other main points we need to talk about here, boys?
Just something to monitor. Jake Ferguson may have suffered a severe injury, knee, lower leg of some kind. So that's potentially impactful. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not tracking a ton of other big injuries from today so far.
No, not a lot of injuries today, which is awesome. I mean, that's just great news to hear as a dynasty manager. It's just because normally week 1, it's just left and right. Last year, it was Aaron Rodgers, J.K. Dobbins went down early. I mean, it was wild. So good things out of the injury notes. And hey.
Yeah, I think the other thing Wade and I just talked about pre-show is, and you and I as well. But yeah, I mean, so far for this entire week, even with the weekday games, only one 300-yard passer, which is kind of and even, I mean, we had Mahomes was 290, Lamar 270, but not even a ton of guys over 250. So that's just kind of hurting the overall production. And we see this every year. I mean, most of these guys have, they got maybe a quarter or two in the preseason really together, but it's a different thing in a real game. So we'll see that improve.
That is the thing to remember. It is still week 1. I mean, I think that's just the key takeaway from this pod. It's week 1. Do not go selling the farm because you think that your guy's cooked because he didn't perform in week 1. I mean, that is the biggest thing. Give it a little bit of time. You start hitting the panic button, maybe week 3, week 4. Give him a couple weeks to get back into form, get into that NFL, mode, back to playing again week in, week out, playing guys that aren't, practice squad or at practice. I mean, this is full-fledged going balls out, essentially. So the fact that we're just not getting into it, just keep holding on. Even the greats didn't perform the greatest of all,
Our memories can just be so short. So, I mean, last year, one of the heroes of week 1 was Tutu Atwell, who's nothing now, and Devon Achane was a healthy scratch, and people were absolutely freaking out about his value. So, and then we don't even, the rest of the season happens, and we don't even remember what happened this early. So I would just always keep that in mind.
And like we talked off pod, Grant, I think every year we do this after week one, like, oh my God, this is the worst I've ever seen it for offenses. And it's just, week one is just weird. It really is.
These guys they fight through things and evolve as it goes. I mean, and then at the end of the year, these great offenses, the Texans were not some freaking automatic offense early last year.
You weren't trying to buy in.
Guys.
You were not trying to buy into Texans offense last year.
Yes, I think week one last year, Stroud had a pretty rough game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I was looking. I mean, he had like 240 yards, but he got sacked 5 times. I think he had at least 1 interception. It's some of these other rookie quarterbacks. I'm not as optimistic that their stats will improve as the year goes on, but if Williams, I'm still feeling okay about for now.
I do, before we do get into here, I do have one injury thing that I forgot about. I think Njoku.
Okay, cool. Something to monitor.
Yep.
Just keep an eye on. And football is back, boys. It feels so good. Here's that drop for you, Wade.
Classic. We are back. We are back.
That's better.
Football's back, baby! Hey, thanks for tuning in, guys. We're going to be breaking down everything out, dropping some new segments here. Be on the lookout. I'm going to start posting some TikToks on my drives homes. Grant is killing it on our Twitter game, so go follow us at Beer30Football or me at FFCaptain22. I almost forgot my Twitter handle.
So you about forgot it there.
You boys need to get like some fantasy football Twitter handles so we can follow you. My goodness.
I'll probably have some kind of dump like I've been doing of thoughts and info, especially regarding things we didn't cover today. So look out for that probably tomorrow after the weekend games are all done.
But hey, we are out of here until next week when we come to break down week 2 because football's back. I'm your host, Colton. Have a good one, y'all.
Wade here. Take her easy, everybody. Enjoy the rest of week 1. Sunday Night Football coming up.
If she's easy, take her twice. Grant, you going to hit him with something?
Hopefully everybody got some dubs this week or not if you're tanking, I guess. But yeah, it's been quite the week, and we will be doing it again 17 more times this year.
Hey, crack a cold one and enjoy some football, people. See ya.